Right, welcome Writing Warriors and or Hub 45 to a quick instruction video. This is my base, this is my little but very deadly ship, that's my ground craft, and this is my new big one. When the sun comes up soon, you'll be able to see the paint job and how awesome it looks. Okay. There are 9 building blocks. 9 blocks that you can use to build with. And here they are. This is your basic hull block, basic cube. We've got a range of different types. And when the sun comes up, it's actually a bit dark at the moment. When the sun comes up, I will show you. In fact, I might just take you a little. Might just take you a bit closer. I've got lights over here. Actually, what I'll do here is we'll stop. Okay. So you have different types of building blocks. If you take the basic cube on the ship, it will look like that. It will look about that size, and we can place it there, and that is your very basic building block. It's very good. We have other blocks. We have the truss. The truss block looks kind of cool. At the moment it looks like that, but when you place it, it actually looks, you can see through it. It's like a girders. It almost looks like it's unfinished, but it looks pretty cool. So I'm just going to take that off now because I don't want that to stay there. Okay, so that's the truss. Truss is cool. We've got the standard slope. Slope's good, very useful. Looks like this. You can rotate it. You can rotate it any way you like, any degree, any angle, and then you can put that down somewhere. You might want to put that there. Give you a little bit more shape, maybe even a bit more protection, because that's your fuel cell and you don't want to lose your fuel cell in the middle of flying. Trust me, it's happened. So I'll get rid of that now. So that's that. We have, this is very similar to that last one, except it's curved. It's got a pretty cool curve on it. Put it there, and same deal, we can rotate it. You can put it any way you like, but they look good like that. Put them on things, and then you've got this nice shape here. You can do lots of, actually, no, I'll take that off. But that's a cool, nice brick, cool shape. So that's what that looks like. I don't want that there right now. We also have, the sun's coming up. Where's the sun coming up? We also have other kinds of blocks. We have the corner. Now the whole corner is an interesting one. It's almost like you chopped a cube in half. So I can get a good picture of it for you. See, there it is. So it looks like that. You rotate it. So it almost looks like you cut a cube in half. Kind of interesting. I've used it on some of my ships. I've used it on my big ship, which I'll show you in a minute. So that's kind of a cool block. Building block. We've got this interesting one, which I haven't used very often. It's basically like the reverse of that one we just saw. Imagine that you cut one vertex, one vertice completely off that cube. It's like you cut one whole corner off, and that's what you're left with. So that spiky one that I showed you just before looks like that would actually, looks like that might almost fit in the empty space on this cube here. So, but that's a good one. If you want to build something with that shape on it, then absolutely go ahead. We've got some of these ones. This is really cool. This is like if you took a table tennis ball or any kind of ball, and you cut it into quarters. If I put it there for you, see the sun's coming up now. So it looks like that. It's like one whole quarter of a sphere, like a solid round ball. So that's kind of a cool looking block, and I've used those before on the front of. I've used a bunch of those on the front of my new ship, which I'll show you in a moment. We've got this, which is very similar, except it's got more of an edge. Let's see so if I rotate it. So it's this sort of similar to that quarter, but this time there's actually an edge down here. So that's kind of an interesting shape. It still looks like one quarter of a whole shape, but it looks a little bit different to the other one. I'm just going to power down now. I don't want to waste all my fuel. Okay, so I don't need that right now. So that's one of the other blocks. Just going to take that off. If you put a block down in the wrong place, you have to destroy it. You can't click on it just to remove it. Actually, it's destroyed. And then we've got this interesting shape here, which is like a cone, like an upside down ice cream cone. So if I was to put that there, you'd see that if it's like a quarter of a cone. If you look at it from the top, it would look like a quarter of a circle. But it's almost like well, it's actually called a cone, so there's a quarter of a cone there, which is kind of interesting shape. I haven't used a lot of them, so doesn't mean that you can't. So those are the basic building blocks. When you're actually building the ship, as I was telling you last time, you need to have, I'll show you on here, you need to have the cockpit, obviously. That's this bit that you get into and you fly, and you turn the power on and you fly. If you've got no cockpit, there's nowhere to sit and fly. This is the smallest one. There are other ones, but I like this one. It's not too big. There are, like I say, there are other ones, and they're big and they're white, and they're not twice the size, but they are actually a lot bigger, and I think they're a little bit too big, but that's entirely up to you if you want to use those. Now, every ship needs to have this thing, which is a generator. You need to have a generator. These are your fuel tanks. Fuel tank runs the generator, and then you need this. Okay, you need this. Okay, you need that round sort of strange looking thing there. That's called your RCS unit, and without that you can't turn. So to have a ship, any design ship, you need to have a cockpit. You need to have one generator, one fuel tank, and an RCS. Now you can have more, that's fine. And the generator, you can lie the generator down on its side, it doesn't have to stand up. And if you go over here and we look at my new ship, which is this big happy fellow over here, which I've just made, I've gone for a very large ship this time. Because he's so big, and there's a lot of things, a lot of thrusters, and there's just a lot going on this ship. What I've done is I've got 2 fuel tanks, 2 generators, 2 RCS units, because it needs a lot of power. If I look at my fuel tank, so each one of these is a fuel cell, fuel pack. So I've got a bunch of those. This is an oxygen generator, oxygen station, and that's where I keep my oxygen. So, not in there. Okay. So I keep 2 oxygen tanks in there, and that will actually keep me alive. And I've got a weapon there, and there's my cockpit. So I've gone for a larger ship. This one's a lot larger than the other ones. And as you can see, I've discovered how to paint now, so painting's pretty cool. If you want to paint your ship and you want to tell me the colours, if you win the competition and your ship is the amazing one that gets designed, there are several colours to choose from. There's the blue, black, white, red, yellow, dark green, and the standard grey. So those are the colours to choose from. There are some bits that can't be painted. I can't paint the guns, and slightly disappointing. You can't actually paint the thrusters, which is a bit of a pain, but there you go. You can't paint your thrusters either. So that is a quick rundown on the types of blocks that you can use when you're building. I'll give you more information if you're interested. You don't have to build the spacecraft if you don't want to. You could build a ground vehicle. This thing is over here, Starbug. He's a spacecraft. He's the one with all the look at these 4 massive rocket launchers on the front. This guy is a ground craft, so he doesn't fly. He only flies up. I'll show you. This is as high as he goes. Okay, I'll pull off. That's as high as he gets. So he can't actually. He's got a hover engine, so that he can't actually fly at all. But that's it. Well, that's sort of kind of flying, but yeah. Better put that down now. Try land. Power off. Oops, didn't land very well, but that's okay. Okay, so that's that. You don't. So